Hello, kings, queens, monarchs of every element. I am the one, the only, the RJB0, also known as RJ the Jank Monarch, and today I am coming to you with another Extreme Victory deck lab. This one comes courtesy of my faithful and hilarious moderator and patron, Hexy Lexi. This is Moises Rodriguez's top 8 YCS Orlando Gladiator Beast deck. This is what the deck looks like, and man, this is a deck that truly appreciates the power of Forbidden Lance, but apparently does not appreciate the power of a side deck. Definitely going to be the first thing we have to look at when we get to the rebuild. Looking at this deck, it's interesting. I've always thought of Gladiator Beasts as being this extremely high-powered turbo stun deck that drops removal and power cards on the board at the drop of a hat, and this is not that deck. This deck is much slower to get started. It relies on stun elements a lot more than I had expected a Gladiator Beast deck to do, and that all makes sense. This is a deck that is between variants. Gladiator Beasts of the Edison format days used the multitude of available Test Tigers as well as Rescue Cat in order to get quick and powerful plays. Later versions of this deck had a Hero Lives and Elemental Hero Prisma to allow you to get a Gladiator Beast in rotation even without a normal summon because of Prisma's effect. This deck has neither of those tools, so I'm really intrigued to see how it plays. My first impressions of the list are mostly surrounding a couple of cards that I'm not a fan of, namely Gladiator Beast Respite. This is a card that is a type of card that my mentors in Yu-Gi-Oh! Have always warned me about. It is a card that is only good to resolve bad hands. Gladiator Beast Respite only works if you draw into 2 Gladiator Beasts, and because it shuffles them back, there is a decent chance that you are going to return with 2 more Gladiator Beasts. I'm not a big fan of this card, and I'm definitely going to be looking for opportunities to remove it from the deck and replace it with something better. I've also noticed that Test Tiger is notably missing from this deck, a card that historically is one of the most powerful cards in the Gladiator Beast's arsenal. And finally, a card that came out in Extreme Victory itself, Safe Zone, is a card that I'm definitely going to be looking out for with this deck. Let's take a look at a couple of replays and see how it plays. We'll begin with a match versus one of my favorite folks in the Yuki sphere, Jesse J. Plays, recently known for Junior Journey fame. Gotta start off with the rock, paper, scissors loss. It's not a stream for me if I'm not losing literally every rock, paper, scissors. What can I tell you? So right off the bat, I'm noticing a couple of problems here. Number 1, Drew Murmillo. Again, a thing that I think could have been resolved with the inclusion of Test Tiger, although none of these cards in my hand are things that I think I would have taken out for Test Tiger. War Chariot is a very good card, especially if I can back it up with a powerful Gladiator Beast. Quest is potentially one of those, and here we're staring at a hand where, yes, Gladiator Beast Respite might have been pretty decent, but I still think we have some good options. I'll normal summon the Murmillo, go in for battle because my opponent just passed, and get a get out of jail free card with this Murmillo. I really should not have gotten this good a play. Of course, there's the Gores. Gores is going to be a little bit of a problem, although Dimensional Prison is certainly going to help us out with dealing with that. We tag out for Laquari, which is our biggest option. Setting War Chariot and D-Prison is going to give us the opportunity to stop plays, and the only hazard against us right now is that Gores. This hand, though, looking a little bit suspect, not gonna lie. How is it that in a deck of basically all spell and trap cards, I drew this many monsters? My opponent goes for an Econ. She's up to something, evidently. The Econ sacks the weak Gores token and takes control of Laquari for a turn, goes into battle, and goes for some incredibly huge damage. I decide to deprison the Gores just to reduce that damage as much as possible and remove that threat from the field, and I'll take the damage from Laquari. It sucks, but it's not game-breaking. I do get to keep the Laquari from this battle. Jessie sets and ends her turn. I draw for turn and another Gladiator Beast. Where are these all coming from? Seriously, I swear there are trap cards in this deck. But fortunately, I have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to Gladiator Beasts. I can pretty much attack with whatever I want, and as long as that isn't a Raikou, I'm in pretty good shape. I don't know what I'll tag out for. Probably a Bestiari is among them. But we are going to attack in with the Laquari and reveal the Dandelion. Ooh, I love to see it. Dandelion and any of those small monsters is just food for Gladiator Beasts. I War Chariot the Dandelion so that I can quest back the War Chariot and get rid of those tokens without having to go into something like a Gyzaris play prematurely. Although, honestly, in retrospect, saving the War Chariot and going into Gyzaris here wouldn't have been a terrible idea. It would have gotten one of my Gladiator Beasts out of my hand and potentially popped Jesse's back row. Definitely things to think about here. I do go for the quest, though, which gets me back my War Chariot, and I am still ahead after all of this. Still, just a handful of monsters. A handful of monsters, and War Chariot, however, is not a terrible hand. I go for the Proving Ground here, an interesting choice on my part, maybe to get the Hoplomus to set up a large defense, and I go for the Laquari, a very similar play. Both of them are there to have big stats and just sit on the field and be threatening. Normal summon the Laquari and probably eventually get rid of that Proving Ground and pass my turn without setting War Chariot, a fact that I immediately point out in the chat, and Jesse celebrates because, man, a turn without War Chariot is a very important turn for her. Fast forward through it, Jesse dumps a Treeborn and goes for 1/1, summoning Glow Up Bulb, steals Laquari with an Econ, mills for Glow Up Bulb, and goes for Stardust Dragon. Definitely the best choice for me she could have gone for, but an Avarice definitely unbricks the play. Here comes the Grand Mole, which easily dispatches the Stardust. We bounce them both back, and now I have a hell of a board to go for. I can set Warning Chariot, because again, there is no Heavy Storm in this format to threaten me. And I'm in very good shape. She could potentially do actually nothing because she sent everything back to her deck. Things are looking good for me. Drawing into 7 tools, probably not ideal considering this deck appears to have 0 trap cards to its name. I go into battle with the quest to shuffle it away and maybe get a War Chariot off of it later on. It's a Treeborn Frog. We've got 1 in rotation now, which she can use to resurrect and maybe go for a Monarch. A Monarch would probably not be the worst thing for me to see, considering I have War Chariot and a Gladiator Beast in rotation, though. I summon Laquari, and actually I summon Rediari. I think better of it, I set pass, and wow, I am fast forwarding through this far too quickly. I banish the Treeborn Frog off of Rediari. Next turn I get to summon the Darius after she sets and passes. I go into the battle phase, attack directly, and get in some big damage and the potential to do a huge amount of damage to her game state. Spore is a powerful card, but if I bounce the Rediari back into my deck in order to get... Nope, I have decided to shuffle back the Darius. I am still very new to this deck, and goddamn is it showing. I choose the Hoplomus to get a big body on the field. It is the biggest body at 2400 defense. I send Rediari back to the deck to presumably get myself a Laquari. Nope, instead I go for the Darius, which allows me to get back the Laquari that I already have in the graveyard. Looking like it's time for our good old friend, the Contact Fusion to end all Contact Fusions, Gladiator Beast Heraklinos. An incredibly powerful card in this situation. Jessie would have to have 3 game-breakingly powerful spell cards in her hand in order to have a chance at coming back into this game, and even if that's the case, she will have used up all of her plays in order to get rid of Heraklinos when I still have so much back row in order to back it up. Sitting behind a Heraclinos plus War Chariot is just one of the most powerful sensations I've ever had in Yu-Gi-Oh! She goes for an Undyne, and unfortunately the part of this that I want to negate is actually the cost, and therefore I have to let it go for her to get the controller from deck to hand. Something she does not do, if I noticed that correctly. I don't know if failure to find is still a possibility in this format, but, you know, I don't think it would have made the difference anyway. She says, wait, can I take that back? And she said, I just remembered Treeborn Frog has text. She decides to take back the back row, and oh, look, it is Gladiator Beast's Respite. Who could have predicted that this card would be dead sometimes? Fortunately, a dead Gladiator's Respite is still material for Heraclinos, so I am still in an incredibly powerful position. Battle phase, we get a run over Undyne once again. And I decide not to tag out. Heraclinos on its own is game-endingly powerful in this situation. Even if I could have gone for the Red Yari and gotten rid of Treeborn Frog, I still don't think it would have put me in quite as good a position as Heraclinos plus War Chariot, which is what I have face down. I hit the War Chariot to stop Ryza in its tracks, and I just have the game from here. Draw into Solemn Judgment, play the Grand Mole, and that is all she wrote. Gladiator Beast taking a powerful game 1. This is a good demonstration of how good Gladiator Beasts are against specifically decks made out of dinky monsters. Because there were so many small monsters that accomplished so little, Gladiator Beasts were able to just run over everything and get free tags out. Let's see about the next duel. Game 2, I am predictably going second, and god damn it, where do I find all of these monster cards? I understand why Keegan hates this deck so much. At least I have Lance. I think Lance is a very powerful card for this deck because it guarantees either I win a battle or I am out a spell or out of danger from a spell or trap card. Gladiator Beast War Chariot is going to be crucial for getting rid of cards my opponent uses to deal with my Gladiator Beasts. This time around, it's a Fishborg Blaster, which is great for me because, you know, I don't have to negate that with War Chariot, and I can get rid of the Red Yari. God, another Gladiator Proving Ground. I promise there are trap cards in this deck. 4 Gladiator Beasts in hand. My goodness. Well, obviously the play is to normal summon Red Yari. She basically has nothing in her deck that can stand up to a 1200 attack point monster. And fortunately, I am right about that. The Red Yari can then go back to the deck where next turn I can start banishing. I summon the Laquari, again, the biggest body on an attack position monster I can get. Set the War Chariot, set the Lance, and pass. Jessie draws for turn. She has the Fishborg in play and decides to go for a Formula Synchron play. This is one of the really cool additions to Frog Monarchs as of this format. The ability to go into Formula Synchron and potentially unbrick a terrible hand. See, this Gen X controller here. We can sync into 2 and it would do wonders for her hand had I not a War Chariot already in play. When the Chariot is War yet. Anyway, I draw into another Gladiator Beast because why wouldn't I? I normal summon the Bestiary because I want to start double tagging as much as possible here. I attack in with the Bestiary and I am hit with Battle Fader. This is a hairy situation. Battle Fader provides for a Monarch tribute and it stops me from going through with battle, which means I cannot tag out my monsters. I decide to shuffle away my monsters anyway in order to make a Geysaris to make it less likely that Jessie can bring out a Monarch. It doesn't totally get me out of the water because of the water monsters in her graveyard, but at least it means there's no chance at something like a Light and Darkness Dragon, which would be game-endingly strong against me. Jessie brings back the Treeborn Frog, and the tension is huge here. Oh, it's Caius, the worst it could have possibly been. Oh, no matter. I will take the damage from Caius, and I will lose the Geysaris and take the L on card advantage there. Fortunately, although I took a massive neg here, I am still very high up in cards. A Mirror Force is a fantastic trap to prove my deck's dedication to me. I can normal summon the Laquari and show off the power of Forbidden Lance by using it to run over this Caius, the Shadow Monarch, in damage step. This allows me to tag out the Laquari for a Rediari or an Quest, either one allowing me to block out a monster next turn. I show off one of the most frustrating things about Gladiator Beast here, because Effect Veiler can only activate during the main phase. A Gladiator Beast monster is immune to it unless it's used preemptively, because Gladiator Beasts are activated during the battle phase. Just a fantastic interaction. At least it is for me. Jessie expresses her horror and astonishment, and I go into my deck to absolutely wreck her plays. I hit the Rediari, I can get rid of the Treeborn Frog, and she is left with very little to operate on. Man, this is the best possible matchup I could have. She normal summons Swap Frog, which at least allows her to replenish her Treeborn Frogs, since I cannot summon Rediari next turn unless I double tag somehow. And little does she know, my deck is extremely dedicated to giving me as many Gladiator Beasts in hand as possible, and therefore there is no chance that I am not going to double tag next turn. She passes turn, and what do I draw but another Gladiator Beast? Sure, at least I can guarantee that I get a Gladiator Beast tag because she left Swap Frog on the field. Had she bounced it back to her hand, a Battle Fader would have kept me from tagging out entirely. I go into battle phase with my weakest monsters in order to get some of my stronger monsters into rotation and to get them out of my hand. And fortunately, she has no response to my attacks. Oh, this is going to be punishing. I can summon the Quest, get back my War Chariot, which this is a hell of a loop against a deck that cannot run over Gladiator Beasts. And I'll tag Hoplo back into the deck in order to return Rediari to the field and ruin Jessie's day once again. That is right, Jessie. Damn Gladiator Beasts are nuts. If they get ahead, it is almost impossible to come back in a game against them. Down goes the Chariot, and we pass for turn. What will she do? Pretty much nothing. This is about as bad as it gets for her. She's having to set Sangam, which fortunately gets something back out of battle, but the amount of advantage that I get in comparison is unbelievable. I can summon the Laquari, and we can go into battle phase. I want to guarantee that Rediari gets off this board, so I'll attack with Rediari first into the Sangam, which will activate its effect, presumably to add a Battle Fader to the hand. Oh, whoops, I have War Chariot. Sorry about that one, Jessie. We attack in for a further 1600, 1800, and go for tag out with our Quest. I make a crucial mistake here, which is that I wanted to get Rediari back into the deck as soon as possible in order to banish the Fishborg Blaster. But at this point, is it going to matter? I highly doubt it. I summon the Quest to get back War Chariot, and then recognize that I am stuck with either a Laquari or a less good monster on the field than Laquari. Fortunately, I did tag out of Rediari early enough in the phase in order for me to be able to get a second use out of it. Oh, Jessie, it does truly never end. Heraclinos comes out to just prove that there is no shot that she is winning this game. I'll set the War Chariot, activate a Proving Ground in order to get another card into my hand to use for Heraclinos, and I'll just T-pose at her and pass. A set effect veiler, an admission of defeat if I've ever seen one. I MST the back row because honestly it can't be that bad at this point. Jesse decides to chain the MST, infinitely punishing me for activating mine, hits the Mirror Force, which is bad, but not as bad as hitting the War Chariot. I normal summon Liquari, I attack into the Effect Veiler, getting a free clear, and we are hitting for 3,000. This game is all over, but for the crossing the I's and dotting the T's. Ryza is just an admission of defeat here. Good games, Jesse. Wow, this deck is good against frogs. Next, we have a match versus a deck that is probably going to put up somewhat more of a fight. This is Beezus Ice on 6 Samurai, showing off those Naturia Beast sleeves, something I certainly hope does not come to pass. Naturia Beast is an incredibly difficult card to out, even for this deck. Beezus is on the play, making my life even more difficult. Again, me and not winning rock, paper, scissors. I'll take the free 1,000 for the upstart goblin. Beezus will use a Xian's smoke signal, and I know that I am in trouble. You never use this card unless you are about to make a truly, truly irritating play. Beezus says they misclicked and puts the Kageki back, instead going for the Kagemusha, which, you know, tells me about as much about their hand as the Kageki did. But they do decide to just normal summon Ryo, a baffling move considering the situation that we are both in, and sets 2 and passes. Now, Ryo is a strong card, but against a Book of Moon is not so much. And we all remembered what happened the last time I played against a deck that lost to Ryo and summoned a Ryo on its first turn. We'll use the Gladiator-based Respite because, again, if this were something like a Test Tiger or a Safe Zone, I think I might have been in a little better shape. I don't mind having 2 Gladiator Beasts in my hand as long as there's something I can do with them. I shuffle those 2 back into the deck, and I draw more Gladiator Beasts. Somehow I draw into even worse ones to draw from my deck. I don't understand the logic of this card. I go for the MST to hopefully thin out the back row. I hit a Solemn Judgment, which it probably couldn't get better than that. I summon the Rediari, hoping to bait out a back row and to use the window to respond to Rediari before they see the Book of Moon, which I will play next to flip the Ryo face down. Compulsory Evacuation Device stops me from getting over the Ryo, and I am in trouble. Again, if I had access to a Test Tiger here, I may have been able to stop this from happening and been sure to get rid of the Thunder King Ryo. No matter, we are still not getting Xiend this turn, most likely, unless they found another way to access Kagemusha or Kageki. They hit the War Chariot, because sure, of course they hit the War Chariot, flip summon the Ryo. Go big thonk. And attack in. I'll take it. Draw for turn, and why wouldn't I draw another Gladiator Beast? It's just the way of the universe at this point. I just have to pass. There's no reason for me to put any of these monsters on the board. My opponent isn't threatening lethal, and they've got a Ryo on the board, which means it's less likely that they're going to threaten lethal in the future. They go for Xian's Smoke Signal because nobody remembers that Thunder King Ryo is reciprocal. This card would have been absolutely insane if it weren't reciprocal. They discreetly take it back and go into the battle phase instead. You know, doesn't put me in much better of a position. I draw into a 4th Gladiator Beast. What is wrong with this deck? I pass after setting Ready Ari. I'd rather have the Equest in rotation than the Ready Ari against this deck, and my opponent goes for Mind Control, which, unless they get a Synchro Summon off this turn, may actually be in my favor. If this Ready Ari can survive a turn, and if I can get a way to tag out my monsters, I might have a shot at getting back into this game. They flip summon, look at their extra deck, think real hard, summon a Kagemusha, and you all know what's coming next. A 2, a 3, and a 4 are on the board. There's only one card in this format that can happen, and there is the Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier. This happens to me every match, doesn't it? There goes my 7 tools, my Ready Ari, and hopefully an Equest, an Equest, an Equest. Ah, thank goodness they hit one of the Equests. Would have been rough. They activate the Shien Smoke Signal, add the Kagemusha to replenish their hand of 6 Samurai tuning material, and attack in for 2,700. I am down horrendous. A Mirror Force, however, does give us the potential to come back. I think for a second, I'm deciding if I want to set a monster before I do this. But I opt to instead set... Oh, I decide to set the Darius. Interesting. I set the Mirror Force, and that seems insurance policy enough. My opponent summons Ryo, just handing me the game here. Thank you so much, Beezus Ice. This just turns it right around for me. They get rid of the most annoying card against my deck. They get rid of the Trishula. This is perfect. I have a clear board. Nothing could possibly go wrong for me. I draw for turn and draw a Thunder King of my own. Flip summon Darius. And just go to battle phase. My opponent lets it through, which is spectacular for me. This means that I can get a free use of Bestiari against my opponent. I'll lose the Bestiari, but worst comes to worst, I can Darius it back to go for a Geysaris play later. They go for the compulsory evacuation device in response to the Bestiari. Sure, I'll normal summon the Ryo and pass the turn. This gives me a huge amount of insulation, except against exactly the hand they happen to have. They summon GG and lay their hand on the board, and I think they're admitting defeat until I read the stat lines on the board. Both of these Kizons are 2,100 attack, and even if I were to try and negate one of them, my opponent can Synchro summon Naturia Barkion, and the game is over. God damn, that came out of nowhere. All right, we'll bounce back in game 2, though. This time, I finally get to go first. My first time going first in this entire match, and what do I draw but a Gladiator Beast Respite with only one Gladiator Beast in hand. I swear, this deck has the worst timing with these things. It doesn't help that Gladiator Beast Respite is just a terrible card. I set 3, fearing no heavy, and pass. Thunder King, hell of a card. My opponent goes for United, which is perfectly fine. They summon themselves an Elder. This is concerning. I don't want to have to get rid of my Ryo at neg because of United, just to take out a Shien, but, you know, we'll deal. Here comes the Kizon to get the second counter onto United. They get their Pot of Greed. They summon another Elder, bizarrely. Perhaps to give the Kizon the extra attack. And they attack in. Fortunately for me, I have the battle step trick, or the damage step trick, to end all damage step tricks. Forbidden Lance, my ever faithful companion, to put that Kizon down to a respectable 1,1600 attack points. I know how to do math. 1,300 attack points. And ensure that my Ryo survives. Now I'm in great shape because I have a Gladiator Beast that is absolutely certain to get through, a Thunder King Ryo on the board to stop any Synchro shenanigans, and some dead cards in my hand. Don't worry about those. Go, a quest, go! After Ryo, you know, for damage. A Tragodia. Fascinating choice. Now I have to think about what I want to tag out for. Tragodia is potentially extremely powerful with the ability to steal my monsters and to just get big. I decide to go for the Murmillo and hold onto my Smashing Ground. The reason is because I want to hold Smashing Ground, the one-time use card, for as long as possible. Hopefully I can put the Murmillo back into the deck and it won't actually count as a resource use. It's a little bit of copium considering I have no way of stopping a monster from just being normal summoned and attacking, but I am confident that Thunder King Raya will get me there. My opponent goes for United again and another Keyzon, and decides to use it as an upstart goblin rather than a Pot of Greed. Works great for me. They draw. They set again. They go to battle phase. And they absolutely wreck Murmillo. Yeah, that probably wasn't the best move on my part. I draw for turn. Gale the Whirlwind is funny, but probably ultimately unnecessary. I just go to battle phase and swing in with Ryo. No reason to risk the Torrential. Draw for turn. They look in their extra deck, they think real hard, and then they pass. This is looking great for me. Oh, a Gladiator Beast? Don't mind if I do. That Gladiator Beast Respite is really just sitting there and rotting in the left end of my hand, isn't it? They say correctly, an astute observation that Thunder King Ryo is a hell of a card, and I just go to battle phase. Again, no reason to risk any of my cards. With only 1/7 Tools of the Bandit and them having 2 back row, I really don't want it to turn out that they have Torrential Tribute and some kind of battle trick to get rid of Thunder King. I draw for turn. A Laquari is a big enough monster that I think it might be time. Oh, wait, except I have to finally use that Gladiator Beast Respite. You know, if that were a live card, I imagine I would have accomplished something with that Laquari. Instead, I send it back to the top of my deck, shuffle, and draw 3 cards, which are, of course, going to be Gladiator Beasts I don't draw. No, they're not! Holy shit, those are the most powerful 3 cards that exist in my deck. Wow, what a rip. Gladiator Beast Respite really trying to make up for all of its turns doing nothing in my hand. I activate Monster Reborn, get back my Murmillo to get it back into rotation. Chainlink 2, they decide to admit defeat. Game number 3, Gladiator Beast versus 6 Samurai, a couple of decks that are titans in Yu-Gi-Oh! Historically. Unfortunately, I have to play game 3 on the draw, and that draw is 2 Gladiator Beasts I'd rather not have in my hand. My opponent draws for turn because they get to. They inform me very nicely, very kindly, very politely that they have the full combo. They activate United, they activate Smoke Signal, they search out for a monster, which in this case is Elder. They normal summon Kageki. Not really sure why they didn't search for a Keyzon, but okay. They summon the Kagemusha off of Kageki's effect. They send the United to get Pot of Greed. They activate Rhoda, because why wouldn't they have another search material? They go for Keyzon, I imagine, which is incredibly powerful, and activate the gateway that they drew off the top with their United. Sure, why not? They synchro into the card that I can only assume is going to be a legendary 6 Samurai Shien. God damn, this card is incredibly powerful. They summon a Keyzon to give it a little bit of insulation. And they send the Gateway, not realizing that Gateway is one of the most broken cards in history and does not need to send itself for its effect. They also don't recognize that Gateway doesn't summon. Not everybody played in the era of 6 Sams. I played too many matches against this deck back in the day, let me tell you. Interestingly, they decide to pass turn right here. This is actually very good for me. I have a Gale with no real threat against it. I can easily cut that Shien down to size so that it can be run over with one of my Gladiator beasts in the future. We have the Shien. I attack in, and they correctly get rid of the Keyzon in order to protect it. Now I have a bunch of back row, which is great because maybe I can bait out that Shien with an MST to be able to get a D-prison play on the next turn. They draw, and wouldn't you know it, they have another Kageki plus Kagemusha combo already loaded up in their hand. I go for the MST here so that maybe I can get around the Shiens this turn. They do decide to negate it, which may be good. I'm thinking there's a possibility they're going to go for a Naturia Beast here instead of another Shien, but those possibilities are dashed by a second Shien being summoned off of those two. Man, this card is such a problem for me. They activate the Gateway, which gets them another monster off of their deck. God damn, this card is stupid. Sure, they get another Kageki. Excellent. Why wouldn't they get another Kageki? They attack into the Gale, and I have to let the Gale go. Fortunately, again, I still have Gladiator Beasts in my hand. Unfortunately, one of them is Murmillo, guaranteeing that I will not be able to summon Murmillo during my next turn. God, I wish. I draw for turn, and Book of Moon is actually pretty solid. With a D-Prison already face down, I may have the ability to stop a Shien from going off next turn. Normal summon Darius, I run over the Dinky Shien. And I decide to tag out for a Bestiary, which can take out that Gateway once and for all. Although, honestly, at this point, it has probably done its damage. Set the Book of Moon, and I feel relatively well insulated here. They activate Monster Reborn. I'm sorry they had Monster Reborn in rotation. They summon a Shien. And sure, why not a Kageki for good measure? Honestly, I really should have War Charioted here, but I was so tilted by the first two Shiens being on the board that I didn't really think about the last Shien being a problem. I could have stopped that before it came around, and I just chose not to. I mean, ultimately, I wouldn't have been able to deal with those Shiens this turn anyway because they had enough negates on the board. I D-prison, and they correctly negate with the first Shien, or with the Shien that's attacking, so that I have to War Chariot it, and they do not get rid of a second Shien. Always Shien with the Shien that is being targeted. They bring in the second Shien, and oh boy, is there writing on the wall for me. God damn, Kagemusha Kageki 3 turns in a row. I don't know how I was supposed to be able to deal with that. They said a back row because sure, they have a back row. I draw into Laquari, and there is no chance that this Book of Moon goes through. This match is over. Wow, 6 Samurai are strong when they get to go off. Not my best matchup, and certainly something to think about. Cypher Soldier and Lava Golem are both considerations. The only problem I can see with Lava Golem is that I won't be able to attack in with the Gladiator Beast after I summon it, and Lava Golem is a beefy monster to contend to. Cypher Soldier, however, is a very strong normal summon that just outs Shien on its own. Definitely something to think about for next time. So here we are back with the deck. I think that we actually got a really good show of what this deck is good against and what this deck is bad against. Those were 2 very extreme matchups that let us see the pros and cons of this deck. The first 2 cons I'm seeing are 1 copy of Gladiator Beast Respite and the other copy of Gladiator Beast Respite. The card was terrible. It was garbage the entire time. We never saw it when we had multiple Gladiator Beasts, and we always saw it when we only had one. Even if we had multiple Gladiator Beasts to send it back with, it always just drew me into more Gladiator Beasts. So like, what was the point? I would much rather have more high activity cards. Next, I noticed that this deck had some major difficulties with a couple of particular things. Number one, the big warrior decks in this format. Hero Beat and Six Samurai both have incredibly powerful contenders to deal with Gladiator Beasts. On a review of Moises's deck, I noticed that they are actually running double Kinetic Soldier and double Pulling the Rug. It just did not make it to Dueling Book, apparently. Both cards I genuinely think are good for this deck. If I were to guess two good side deck cards to add to this, Kinetic Soldier would have been the first one. You know, the Cypher Soldier, freaking name changes. Add in that second Pulling the Rug, and we have ourselves a very competent looking side deck. The next thing I want to try out is a pair of things that I alluded to in the first round of deck profiling, which are Test Tiger and Safe Zone. Test Tiger and Safe Zone are both incredibly powerful cards in different ways. Test Tiger makes our multiple Gladiator Beasts oftentimes much more live, and Safe Zone gives us a couple of much needed things. Number one, it gives us a way to guarantee that our battles go well for our Gladiator Beasts. If our opponent has something that's just too big for us to deal with, Safe Zone lets us get through that. It also protects our monsters from destruction and from targeting effects, so if we're predicting something like a Dimensional Prison or a Mirror Force or a Torrential, Safe Zone gets us out of that. But it also provides something else that is new and interesting for this deck. The ability to proactively deal with the field. A reason to summon Bestiari even if our opponent has no spell and trap cards on the field. I can use Bestiari to hit my own Safe Zone, and then I can chain the Safe Zone, targeting the opponent's monster, and then the Safe Zone is destroyed, promptly destroying the opponent's monster. This allows us to get into Geysaris plays much more easily, which turns Bestiari into monster removal when I don't think that we can afford to go for Murmillo. Other than that, this deck seems extremely tight. The Gladiator Beasts that have two copies aren't really things that I would want to have fewer copies of, and there's nothing really in the spell and trap department that I feel needs to be taken out. Perhaps with Safe Zone in the deck, I don't necessarily need two copies of 7 Tools of the Bandit. Although 7 Tools is good for dealing with the Solemn Brigade, a set of cards that I didn't really have to contend with in the matchups that we showed. And honestly, I don't think a larger deck is bad. 42 cards is probably a very good number. We think in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! That we have to slim decks down as much as possible, and the reality is, especially in a deck like Gladiator Beasts, where specific cards aren't things you want to be drawing at any given time, you can afford to run more tools than another deck might. Just because you have all these Gladiator Beasts and want to have them available to be in rotation doesn't mean you want to have them all in your hand at once. So to go down to our 42 cards, I think I might just take out the second Safe Zone and have Test Tiger and Safe Zone as our major replacements for our Gladiator Beast Respite. This is really cool for a number of reasons. Number one, it makes more of my Gladiator Beasts live in hand against more matchups. And number two, it gives us good activity to do on our first turn. I will say there is one valid criticism of Test Tiger, which is a lot of the time there aren't monsters in your deck that you want to get during your main phase. Although, I will contend that the ability to tag into Murmillo on a one monster board, then attack back in with the Murmillo and get something like a Laquari or an Quest is extremely attractive to me. God, the more I think about it, the more I don't like double 7 Tools of the Bandit. It's not a card that I want to top deck. Well, it's great to see before I start making plays. Once I've begun, I don't think this card is going to do me a huge amount of good, especially with the presence of MST and Forbidden Lance and the amount of removal that's available to Gladiator Beasts. Perhaps the second Safe Zone is the way to go after all. Things to think about for sure. So this is the build that I'm coming to. I really like this build. I think Safe Zone is a really cool card. It allows our dinkier Gladiator Beast to have a little bit more activity in our hand and allows us to make some riskier plays, and higher risk plays mean higher reward plays for us. All right, I gotta say, Gladiator Beasts are looking strong. I think that this deck was already incredibly powerful, and I think that even just this little bit of tweaking is really going to carry it over the top against the meta decks this format. Let's get a live match in before I let y'all go for the day. All right, folks, we have Culty for our last match. I'm excited. Culty is one of my favorite duelists I ever play against, a Titan of Reaper format and an extremely victorious gamer. We're playing against that's a Rescue Rabbit. Rescue Rabbit strikes me as a paper rock type of card. I've been outplayed again. Culty already killing it. By the way, we are on stream. We are live on stream right now. So I'll also have chat heckling me about how I play Glad Beasts. Okay. This is a terrible hand. This is a god-awful hand. There's a duality. Okay. Means they're not going off this turn, but oh god. Here we are. It is time to play against TG, Culty's signature deck in this format. This deck is rough to play against, let me tell you. Sophie says, put chat in the video, you coward. If I do any kind of overlay, Sophie, my computer will immediately implode. Oh, I'm clicking on the wrong thing. I'm trying to click on OBS to expand Dueling Book here. There we go. All right. I did not see what they took. Chat, what did Culty take? I didn't even see what they revealed. I wasn't paying attention. I was paying attention to my video. Okay. Draw for turn. The chances that that's a Horn of the Phantom Beast in the back row. Oh, the log. We got to check the log. Oh, they went, okay. They went Horn of the Phantom Beast. That makes sense. Horn of the Phantom Beast, very good against my deck. I think... What do we do here? This is such a terrible hand. Normal Summon Laquari doesn't really do it here. Horn of the Phantom Beast does get Rush Rhino over a Hoplo. There's a world where I MST blindly and hope that I hit the Horn. An alternative plan here is normal summon Ryo, see how they respond. If this baits out a bottomless, I'm probably in decent shape. Do we have a response? Big think from Culty. Big thing. And that makes sense because here if they have, oh, the Solemn Warning. That's good. A Solemn Warning is a great hit for me. And in this case, I think I just set 3 pass. There's no heavy in this format, which means I don't have to worry about this. And this makes it harder for them to snipe something that's like legitimately good against me. Okay. Duality's fine. This reveals that that middle card is Horn. So I'm going to actually type middle Horn. They go TG1, EM1, D-Prison, Ryo. All of these cards are pretty good against me, but all of these cards kind of lose to what I currently have in play. We take the EM1, which is interesting. So I know which of their cards is Horn of the Phantom Beast. Double TG Rhino is interesting. That's fine. And we are going to clear them away. While this isn't great advantage-wise, they get searches. I've taken out the 2 biggest threats they have. And they go for a set that could be the EM1 It could be the Horn. Fortunately, though, I think we can MST an end phase and guarantee the bestiari hit, which is pretty good for us. Whether or not we go for that is really going to be dependent on what we get off the top here. That said, if I tag out a Darius, there's a very good chance I am going to be able to get the bestiari again. And we are going to MST the new set. It's the TGM one. Okay. Draw for turn. There's a safe zone. Safe zone is just about the best draw I could have gotten here. We are going to normal summon our Darius. Because we want to get this. Actually, nope. To hand. Okay, you saw nothing. We're going to normal summon the Ready Ari. We want to get Ready Ari is the biggest problem in our hand, and I just remembered that I have a second Darius in deck. And we're going to declare Ready Ari. We're going to put it back on top of our deck, and we're going to get Bestiari. If I only had one Darius left, I would have summoned the Darius, but considering the fact that I still have another in rotation, this is the play. So we're going to declare Bestiari. We're going to take out the Horn. In main phase 2, we can just set and pass. So they're going to need to make a move here. They're going to have to make a pretty significant move. They're going to go for Striker. That's fine. They're going to go for Warwolf. Warwolf is also fine. Okay. They're taking a look at their extra deck. I'm thinking there's a Catastor in my future. Oh, no, they're going to go for Wonder Magician. This is also okay for me. What are we targeting? Fortunately for me, they already have gone for a summon this turn, which means that I am not in danger of losing out here, of losing my Bestiari. Big in the tank here. Big in the tank. What's the target? Okay. Yeah, that's fine. It's Proving Ground. Losing Proving Ground is not a problem for me here. And because Wonder Magician is so dinky, I'm not really concerned about that card either. Tengu's also fine. And because they didn't go for the MST, I am assuming that they don't have it in hand. So I am going to safe zone the Bestiari. Okay, and then I will take another 400. And then we will declare Bestiari. Shootabadoop. And let's summon ourselves a Laquari here. Looking at the extra deck. Okay. Draw for turn. That's a Thunder King. What an incredible draw off the top. Yeah, let's go for it. This deck doesn't run Honest Copium. Okay, we're going to attack into TG Wonder Magician here. And we'll also take out a Tengu while we're at it. Now, again, there's a world where they get like a Horn of the Phantom Beast, and Horn of the Phantom Beast is bad, but they're going to have to wait an entire turn to get it online. And I'll pass here. They're going to have to pull something pretty drastic to get out of this situation. A dark hole would be kind of devastating. I won't cap. I don't even remember if dark hole... I think dark hole is legal in this format. Going for the Ryo. I think we're going to try and crash the Ryo here. Draw for turn. A Mirror Force could be bad. Blackwing Gale the Whirlwind, however, is a fantastic draw for me given this situation. I think we try to beat over the Ryo, and then we don't try to run over Tengu. I want them to have to go to battle phase before they search next turn. Let's attack into Ryo. If they've got Mirror Force, they've got Mirror Force. Deprison is fine. And then let's crash our Ryos. Okay. So we're not going to summon Gale here because they could just run the Tengu into the Gale and beat me all to hell. But we are otherwise in okay shape. What are they thinking about main phase 1? I think they have another Warwolf in hand. I've lost out on 2 Ryo, which is bad for me. Okay. There was also a world where last turn I summoned the Gale to protect my Ryo. But I really, really do think there's a Horn of the Phantom Beast in my future. And clearing the Ryo outright, I think, is better for me. Because what I really need is access to a Liqueur. Ooh, okay. Now we're on to something. What are we on to? A little unclear. This is actually not an ideal situation for Test Tiger. There's nothing for me to summon from the effect that gets me out of this. Laquari still gets hit with the Horn of the Phantom Beast. Hoplo has a similar problem. Bestiari, honestly, I almost feel like we go for the Bestiari just to have a Geysaris play available to us. But that feels really bad. That feels really bad. I think we have to pass here. I need some more activity. Logical, what would I do that would give me Geysaris? Oh, there's double. Okay, we've got another Tengu. This actually clears the way for my Gale, which is nice. Darius can't summon Test Tiger. Test Tiger isn't a Gladiator Beast monster. And I don't have a Bestiari in grave. Okay. Oh, this is actually pretty good. This is... Let's see. This is Gale attack over a Tengu, smashing ground the other Tengu. Okay. Yeah, let's try for it. we're going to declare target that one. Okay. Now let's go battle phase. This takes out the first Tengu unless they have like a D prison. Horn of the Phantom Beast would also be a problem. But they don't go for it, which is nice for me. In main phase 2, we can just smash away that Tengu. And now I've cleared the board. And we have a clear board. Oh, that's so... And a safe zone. What are the chances that they just have a Mirror Force in their back row? I don't like them, whatever those chances are. Let's see. So I can... I haven't seen Mirror Force yet. Let's summon the Darius and see if that baits something. I feel like it's gotta bait something. Yeah, it's gotta be the Torrential. That's fine. That is perfectly fine. If they're using Torrential now, they're not using it later. So we're just going to set Safe Zone Pass. They don't have anything that threatens lethal on me here. Ooh, MST is hard for me, though. MST is rough. A monster does it, but a monster they do not get. Oh, Bestiari is pretty good here. What do I want to do? I think I just summon Bestiari. I don't even think we bother to go into the Test Tiger here. Although a D prison is bad for me. Does Test Tiger have to get a different monster? No, it doesn't. So we can Bestiari tag into Bestiari, can't we? So let's... This bottomless would be bad for me here. And they haven't used one yet. But I think we have to. I think we have to try for something. Let's normal summon Bestiari. And then I think we Test Tiger here. And get the Bestiari again. I think we have to trade for as much back row as possible. Okay. This will get us back the Bestiari. And they didn't bottomless it the first time, which tells me they probably don't have bottomless. Let's hit that one. Show me a D prison. Please show me a D prison. Show me a D prison. A compulse. Compulse is fine. I am perfectly fine with a compulsory evacuation device. I will pass. We are eating back row. TG Striker, not ideal. But they can't Horn of the Phantom Beast it, which is good for me. Okay. Perfectly good here. Book of Moon is such a good card. Holy shit. Book of Moon is every bit as good as it could get here. We're going to want to go for Laquari as our search. They have Rush Rhino still in rotation, but I think that that's perfectly fine. Let's summon Bestiari. Let's go for it. Because even if they have a D prison, TG Striker doesn't hit over Bestiari. So I can just Book of Moon. the striker. Okay, we're thinking on attack declaration. So they do have Pot of Avarice. This is a thing I know about this deck, is that it does contain Pot of Avarice, which would be a problem for me. Okay. Compulse on the Bestiari. Is that a thing you can do? I feel like... Okay. Yeah, I'll allow it. I don't really see any reason not to. They seem to really want to get their Rush Rhino into rotation. If they have an MST, I'm fucked. If they have any kind of back row removal, there's literally nothing I can do in this situation. But if they don't, I'm in okay shape. Okay, that's fine. Summon's fine. Going to end phase. Fascinating. Draw for turn. It's a pretty okay one. Now the question is here. I still haven't seen Bottomless. I only have 1,000 life points left. Do I summon Bestiari Pass? Or do I set Bestiari Pass? Bottomless really bones me here. What if we set Bestiari Pass? Their last TG in deck is going to be a Warwolf. Or a Striker. They probably have Warwolf Striker still in deck. Okay, yeah. We're going to set. We're going to set, and we're going to pass. I think this plays around the most things. Oh, of course they have the Warwolf. Yeah, that had to be the draw. There was no other draw that did this. There goes the Bestiari. God, that sucks. Oh, that sucks for me. We're going to book the Rhino. Solemn Judgment will take the 1,000. I don't think that's quite how that works. There we go. Okay. Okay, if I draw a Gladiator Beast, we're in good shape. If I draw any Gladiator Beast that isn't Darius, I can still win. Oh my god. Nope. The one time I don't draw a Gladiator Beast and I want to. Good game. Okay. So we're playing against TGs. Cards that are good against TGs, I expect to be going second. Going second, Cyber Dragon is good. I think Dust Tornado is crucial. DD Crow feels kind of bad. Not going to lie. I think Compulse definitely comes out. 7 Tools is strong in this matchup, so I want to keep it in. I think Ryo is good. I think a lot of my deck is just very strong against this one. D-Prison seems like our best attacky trap. Honestly, Solemn Warning doesn't feel that great, and neither does Torrential. So I think we take out Torrential and Compulse. We bring in Dust Tornado. I think we take out Grand Mole in this matchup. I think Mole is terrible in this matchup. Oh, what am I talking about? There's also D-Fissure. D-Fissure is like the best card possible in this matchup. Okay, we got to think a little bit more now. D-Fissure is strong. We take out maybe a Proving Ground? Don't like drawing Gladiator Beasts. Maybe a Dark Hole? Maybe a Smashing Ground. Dark Hole is better than Smashing Ground. Okay. Maybe Smash Mirror Force? Smash, we're going second. Maybe we don't take out the Smash. Maybe we take out the Warning or the Judgment. Ooh, this is a tough one. Maybe we don't need the second Sidra. Oh, Gale is also bad in this matchup. I should take out Gale. So that's one thing I can take out here. And the other thing I want to take out is... yeah, maybe Smash. Okay. This seems strong. Okay. This is definitely what we're siding out. So we're going to say done siding. Let's try for it. And we're definitely going to go first. It just occurred to me that we're going first, not second. Because I lost. This is real copium thinking here. Wow, this is a terrible hand. Fortunately, we could just set 5 pass here. What I want to set is I want to set an MST. I want to set a Warning. I want to set D-Prison. Safe Zone. Chariot. Pass. Name a more iconic Gladiator Beast play. There are 2 modes of Gladiator Beasts I have discovered. Gladiator Beasts are either hands that are all Gladiator Beasts, or they're hands that are no Gladiator Beasts. You never get, like, a nice balance of the 2. We do have to Warning the Tengu here. I will not abide a Tengu. Tengu and I are not friends. Set 3 pass. Not ideal. Oh, and a quest is pretty decent. Especially getting a quest into rotation when War Chariot is around is pretty nice. I don't have any ways of protecting the quest from D-Prison. So I kind of want to just MST hope for the best. So we're going to do that. I'm going to MST the middle. Pretty good. Not as good as hitting a D-Prison, but that's fine. Let's go for a quest. Okay, battle phase. Let's swing in. D-Prison. Oh my god, they had it. Yep, that's fine. Yeah, main phase 2... we don't have a way of stopping like a Black Rose now. So I want to hold my D-Prison. God. Hitting the Mirror Force instead of the D-Prison there hurt so badly for me. And they have the second Tengu. Man. Fortunately, Safe Zone is still a legitimate play. Safe Zone run into Tengu still gets me Bestiari, which is not bad. Okay, I will take the 1700 here. Draw for turn. Oh, that's a pretty good card. Just summon it. Let's go for battle. Let's attack into the Tengu. If this is the second D-Prison, I'm actually in pretty good shape. Maybe last turn... I forgot that Safe Zone protects you from targeting. So maybe last turn I actually should have preemptively Safe Zoned. That was actually probably the move there. I'll pass. So I think Safe Zone was genuinely good there. I just needed to preemptively Go for it. Okay, we're going into the Rush Rhino. Interesting. So I think we deprison the Rush Rhino here. Going end phase. Okay. Draw for turn. Main 1. Let's just clear that set away. It is the Horn of the Phantom Beast. Okay. There's still probably a TG1 EM1 down there, but I do want to just clear the Tengu. Main 2 with Rhino on the board. I doubt I'm about to see a Black Rose. They would need to top deck like Gale in order for that to work. Cyber Dragon, it turns out, is a very strong monster. Let me guess, they have Avarice. I feel an Avarice in my future. They wouldn't be looking at the graveyard if they didn't have Avarice. Okay. We're going for a set. We are switching the Rush Rhino to defense. That's good for me. Draw for turn. Solemn Judgment. Fantastic. Let's try for it. I don't see any reason not to. If they have an out, they have an out. I'll set Judgment, and I'll pass. I have a stacked back row. If I had a Gladiator Beast, I would be in good shape. This is why we have to safe zone preemptively. Safe zone preemptively on the quest would have actually had me off to the races in this game. So that was a misplay on my part. That is not something that is not reflective of the deck's capability. I'm just a dingo. We're going for the Striker special summon. Do we have the Warwolf? We're going for Ryo. Ryo is an interesting one. I'm not particularly concerned about a Ryo here. Oh, we're taking back the Ryo. Ah, we didn't see a Ryo. No Ryos were summoned in the making of this turn. Okay, this is fine. Rush Rhino is also not a problem for me. Oh boy, we 100% have to Solemn Judgment that, don't we? Oh, and they have a Solemn Judgment of their own. That is a problem. I can't deal with that card. I literally need Smashing Ground. Oh, boy. Oh, God. Oops. Barkion is a huge issue. I literally need to top deck into Smashing Ground in order to get rid of it. Yeah, that's fine. They had the Solemn. God, when your opponent has the Solemn Judgment, sometimes. Draw for turn. Ryo would have been great last turn. Man, not preemptively using safe zone really screwed me over. However, that being said, Barkion can only accomplish... Oh no, they have Barkion, which means safe zone is useless. Let's set a back row. Pass turn. If they have literally any monster, or set a monster, pass turn. If they get literally any monster... Oh, that's hilarious. Fortunately, that doesn't quite do it for them this turn, at least. Forbidden Lance, interesting choice. De Fortuna, Forbidden Lance does make Barkion smaller than a Laquari and makes it crash with Darius, which is good for me. Oh, but they have the Thunder King Ryo. Wow. That was a blowout. I got absolutely shredded. Yeah, if I had preemptively safe zoned a quest, I forgot that it protects from targeting. That was rough. Let's try for the game 3, just to see if we can take a game off this. All right, let's see if we can get the game 3. Let's go for the game 3. GLHF to Kalti. Kalti, by the way, an incredible player. Couldn't hope for somebody better to test this deck against. A draw for turn. So we're opening with Bestiari plus set 5 pass. I think we just do the set 5 pass part of that. Because we do have Bestiari plus Lance plus 7 tools plus ratio. This may also be just a bad matchup. We're going to have to go for the warning on Tengu again. No Tengus. Setting a back row, setting another back row. Drawing Bestiari is not ideal here because we can't clear multiple back row this turn, which is kind of what I want. Safe Zone, however, is a very good top deck here. Let's go for Bestiari. Ooh, the Solemn Warning. I will 7 tools this. And this way I do get to clear at least one back row, which is nice. That actually works out really well in my favor. Let's attack in with the Bestiari. They take the 15. Okay. Declare. There it goes. And we're going to get Laquari here, because we want kind of a defender in attack position to do this. Main phase 2, let's set Safe Zone Lance. Pass the turn. This Laquari is really strong in this situation, because it's very heavily protected. There's not really much that they can do to stop it. And it gets me a Bestiari. Gale is an interesting top deck. Remember, this is pre-siding because of the way that a match system works here. We're going to attack in. Going to hit the Werewolf, and then we will declare... What if we declared Laquari banished the Werewolf? How bad an idea is that? If they drew... If they have, like, Tengu or Rush Rhino, that's a really bad idea. Declare. To top a deck. But I think we do go for Ready Ari here. I think we cut them off of their search. We're going to banish the wolf, because it will not be in their graveyard. And I'll pass turn here. This way I can Lance even like a Rush Rhino. Oh, I forgot about the Tengu. That's okay. This is what Safe Zone is for. Let's Safe Zone the Ready Ari. Okay, so I'll take 500. And we'll declare. Top of the deck. Let's see. What do we want to get off of this? We could go for Laquari, but I think, honestly, Bestiari is what I want to hit here. Even if Bestiari gets destroyed by something, it's good to have it in grave. Let's target this first face down. I'm thinking it's a Horn of the Phantom Beast. Yes! I called that perfectly. Nope. No horn for you. Draw for turn. Evac device is pretty decent here. What we're going to do We can Gale Tengu, attack into Tengu with Bestiari. Could smash the second Tengu. Or we could just go for Laquari. Yeah, let's go for Gale. Okay. We're going to see if that summon goes through, okay? And, oh, could not have asked for better here. I do need to think. Because they are going to get Tengu, but I could just smash away the new Tengu. Smash away the new Tengu. And get Laquari off of Bestie. Seems pretty good. Or I could Solemn for their whole life savings. Hey, Leonin, thank you for the tier 1 sub for 4 months. How's it going? So they've got the Torrential. I could Solemn it here. Solemning would make sure that I get through the Bestiari attack. A Lance would mean using more resources. Yeah, let's Solemn. Okay. And then this guarantees Bestiari. And we will declare the Bestiari. And I can get Laquari. This is pretty solid for me. This is a good position for me. Main phase 2, we'll set a back row, and we'll pass. I've got a massive amount of field presence advantage. I've got Forbidden Lance, which can still protect my Laquari. Warwolf is fine for me here. I'm not really sure what they're planning on pulling with it. I could always just compulse my Gale back. Summon is fine. Not really sure what the plan is here. We're going to go into battle. We attack into Gale with the Warwolf. What are we going to Lance the Warwolf? That's fine. Can't think of anything we do in damage step except maybe Lance. Okay, they are using the Warwolf to presumably get a Rhino here. And I'll just compulse back my Gale. To stop the Tengu from getting it out of there. Now they're out of Tengu. There was a world where the move was to compulse back something, but that's fine. Stream is going okay. We're running a little bit late, but that's because I had to film something today. We're getting the Striker, which is an interesting and concerning combination, or move. We could go Gale here. What if we just smashed away the Tengu to guarantee the Laquari? I kind of like that. Plays around Horn. I haven't seen a D prison yet, so I think I do want to do that. Yeah, I have a lot of outs to Barkyon in my hand if needs be. So yeah, let us... I don't have any... That's the other thing. I don't actually care that much about Laquari resolving its effect. Yeah, let's go for battle phase here. Laquari resolving its effect is like not the most important thing here. D prison does it. That's fine. We can set our own D prison. Pass. I'm not concerned about many of the things that they can make here. We're going to synchro for Brio, is what I would expect. Brio's fine. I want them to miss the Lance. Pot of Avarice. Oh, God, that's fine. Yep. Here's a question. Why am I not running Horn of the Phantom Beast in this deck? I suppose it's because I have a lot of combat tricks already. Yeah, and it's got to be Beast or Beast Warrior, which is not a huge percentage of our dudes. Oh, we're discarding both at the same time. That's fine. We're going to activate Lance. We'll target the Brio. I'm going to take a lot here. I'll take 1,500. But the Brio is now their only thing, and a quest off the top is about as good as it gets. Let's smash and ground the Brio. Let's normal summon a quest. Go to battle. Let's swing in. Then we will declare a quest. The top of the deck with that one. And we will summon our second Laquari here. Main phase 2, we will set and pass. If we can stop them from doing anything this turn, and if we can survive back row, we may just win the game. Darius is such a hot draw off the top here. Holy shit. Okay, what are we doing? Summoning Gale doesn't do me much good. I think we summon Darius. I think we just summon Darius, swing in. There's not much. It could be a Tengu. Tengu wouldn't be ideal for me. Let's just go for it. Let's normal summon Darius. Let's go battle phase. Attack with the Darius. His guarantees are Darius. They get a Tengu, but we run them out of Tengus here. I could tag Darius for Murmillo. Yeah, that's fine. He summoned the last Tengu. We will declare Darius. We'll summon Murmillo in defense. I want to just totally clear their board here. And then we'll pass. If they get, like, a thing that summons back Brio, I'm in trouble. There are synchro summons that are a problem for me. But as far as I know, there is nothing that ultimately wins them the game here. GG. That one was a banger. And we are back with the deck one last time. What did we learn today? We learned that Gladiator Beast is an entirely capable deck, as long as it's piloted by a capable player who remembers what all their cards are doing. Even in a fast-paced format like Extreme Victory, Gladiator beasts have the tools to keep faster decks at bay and even punish some of the decks that rely on smaller monsters. While they have consistency problems that a stun deck like TG Stun doesn't have, they also have explosivity and versatility that those decks do not. I had a great time playing with Glads, and I think that as long as you're willing to play through a couple of not so excellent hands, Gladiator beasts will absolutely take you across the finish line. I want to thank Hexy Lexi one last time alongside all of my other patrons. I also want to thank all of you for watching today. Go forward in humble confidence, my friends, and I hope you have a great one.